What's up guys, Headphones Neil here, back with the final tutorial in my custom live wallpaper maker tutorial for beginners. So for this final tutorial, I actually wanted to do a combination of all the various things that I previously taught in my prior tutorial. So if you haven't had a chance to watch them, you're coming across just this video, the playlist for the tutorials will be in the show notes for this tutorial, much like they are for all the other ones. So if you want to go back and watch any of them, need a refresher or anything like that, you can easily get to that link. So with that being said, the final tutorial is going to be a media player. So this is one of those things where I'm going to make it a dynamically themed media player. So when media is playing, it's going to pull the colors from the image of the artwork that's playing, but when it's not playing, it's going to pull the colors from a preset image. So jumping right into it, I'm going to edit the home screen that I currently have, or the wallpaper that I currently have, because I have a couple of other presets already going on, notably in the weather widget and these icons down at the bottom. So as far as the image, I already have this one that I found off of Twitter, so I'll keep that as is. And then from here, what we're going to do is jump right into creating that media player widget. So the first thing we're going to do is create an overlap group, and I'm going to rename it. Not that I have so many items that it's going to be hard to find, but just for consistency, I'm going to call this media player. And because it's going to be, I'm going to end up putting it right under my weather widget, I'll put it second in line. For now, I'm going to make the position the center of the screen so it doesn't overlap with anything else, and we can easily see the elements that we're adding. From here, what we're going to do is we're going to create the background shape. So we're going to add a shape element. I'm going to rename this background so we know exactly what the element is. And then we're going to change it from a square to a rectangle. And you're asking, why don't I just copy and paste the weather widget? I can, but in case you haven't seen that, I'm gonna make this its own standalone video tutorial as well, so you can watch this from beginning to end. I'm gonna set, I think the width of my screen is 900, so yeah, we'll keep it at that. And then for height, I'm just gonna set a super big number. I'm gonna make it 500, and then I'll adjust it down accordingly to whatever I need it to be in case I have an extra padding on the top and bottom. And then from here, we're gonna go over to paint and change the color so that it dynamically changes as needed. So I'm changing it from the color picker mode to formula. And so from here, we're gonna enter a formula that if the MI, which is a music player, state equals playing, then I want to use my preset global variable, so check the global variables for setting those up, of M music. That's the muted color for the cover art that's playing, blended with 50% of black so that it makes it a little bit darker and it's easier to see the elements. And then comma, so the else condition is going to be M image. So when music is not playing, it's going to pull the colors from the preset image. And then we'll close it out with the parentheses and the $sign and hit the check mark so it saves it. So now we need to create a border, much like our weather widget has. So from here, we're going to go back. We're going to copy the background element, so we have the same size, the same shape element, and then the same height and width, so we don't have to change those. I'm going to rename this to border, so we know that that's what that is. We're going to go to paint. Now we're going to change two elements on this screen. We're going to change it from fill to stroke, so it creates the border, and then we're going to increase it to 5. So it's something that we can actually see, but it's something that's thin, but not too thin, but also something visible so that it creates that effect. Now for the color, we need to change the element so that it's actually visible and not the same as the background. And in this case, I'm going to, so when music is playing, I'm going to have it pull the vibrant colors from the media player's cover image. But else, if music is not playing, then pull the vibrant colors from the cover image. Close it out. Our hex code is pulled, so we know it's correct. And boom, now we have our new element canvas to play with. So now going back to the items list, we're going to create a stack group because we're going to have 3 notable elements. The first element is going to be the stack group of the cover image and track information, then the progress bar, and then playback controls. So first we're going to just create a stack group. We're going to make the layer vertically centered so it stays in the center alignment and center of this overlap group. For now, I'll make the margins 40, but I will adjust that down as well if I see that it's too much margin, or I'll adjust it up if it's not enough margin. And now we're going to do another stack group, and I'm going to rename this to something simple like current track. And so now for this, as far as the layer goes, we're going to make this horizontal center because we want the cover image and stack group, or the cover image and track information next to each other. I'll have a small margin of 20. This is something I just know from before that I know that's a good margin for that. So now we're going to add a shape, and I'm not doing an image because I want to have rounded corners for the cover image as well. I'm going to bump this up to, I think 140 is about right, but I might have to reduce that. This is the size because I know how big my track information is going to be, but I'll adjust it accordingly. I always forget the size because sometimes it's 120 or 130, things like that. I set the corner rounded to 20. So now from here, we're going to go over to FX, and under texture, we're going to change it to bitmap. And you'll see the bitmap defaults to pick image. We want to change that to formula mode. And we want to pick the formula for the music information. So we're going to go to music info, and we're going to scroll down to current cover image. And this is going to pull the cover image from any music that's playing. I currently have mine set to Pocket Cast, Musical.ly, and Google Play Books. So if I'm listening to media from any one of those elements, it will automatically pull the cover image. So now we're going to go back and we're going to create another stack group that's filled with text elements for the track information. From here, I'm not going to change the margin or the stacking. I just want it to be vertically stacked and no margin, so they're next to each other. And then we're going to create a first text element. I'm going to bump the font size up to, let's make it 40. And then we'll save it really quick just to make sure it's the right size when we're done. If it's too big, I'll adjust it down. If it's the right size, then we'll leave it. So back to the music info tab, we're going to pull in the current album, current artist, and current track title elements. So we're going to do a little bit of cheating, much like the background and border. But before we do that, I'm going to go all the way out and exit and make sure the element or the elements update, and it did not. I don't know why. So let's see. Save. Let me play some music. So let's see if I forgot. Let's see if I need to change some settings. Disable parallel rendering is. So let's go to wallpapers, and sometimes Custom Live Wallpaper will do this thing where it won't update, and sometimes you have to reset the wallpaper. So it's kind of annoying, and sometimes it just needs an extra few seconds to update. So let's do home screen, apply. And this kind of sucks that this is happening in the middle of a tutorial, but regardless, here we go. So we have our first set of the first elements of our media player. So from here, I like the font size of the album art or the album title. So we'll go back into our current track stack group, and we're gonna copy in the rest of the track information. And it looks a little bit small, so I'm going to increase the album art, the cover image, to a little bit bigger. So now I just copied and pasted as far as the rest of the media player track information goes. I just copied and pasted the album title, so I can go in and delete the current album and make the second one current artist. Go into the third one and make the third one current track title. So from here, one thing I actually didn't do is, so I'm gonna go back, delete these two, because what the other thing we want to do is have a have this element fill the screen, but we don't want it updated to, because if you have an album title that's too long or it changes constantly, so the width is gonna always be changing. I'm gonna change this to fixed width and one line. So if the album title or the album title, artist name, or track title is longer than a line, it's gonna concatenate that to just one line. So anything more than that line will show 3 dots. So that way you can keep your media player the same size. And now we're gonna copy and paste the title information. Oh, I didn't want to change the font, I wanted to change the title. So this way, regardless of the length of the album, artist, or track title, you will have a I keep hitting the long thing. It'll consistently have the same size widget, and you don't have to worry about it resizing on its own or doing anything funky. So from here we have our current track information. So now we're going to go back to our main listing of elements. So now we want to create a progress bar so we can see how far along our track has played. So we're going to create another overlap group, and I'm going to call this progress. And I'm only calling it progress because we'll see as you'll see in just a second. So we're going to create a simple shape to start, just because we need a backing element for the rest of the progress bars that we're going to create. So I'm going to call this one background, just for simplicity. Custom Live Wallpaper Maker doesn't have any issues at the moment if you have multiple elements with the same name embedded with each other, just as long as, because it kind of knows that they're unique elements. I think in the background it has its own like key for each element. So you can even have like 4 elements called BG in the same group and it won't care. It's going to just cause confusion for you, but Custom Live Wallpaper Maker generally won't have a hiccup for that. When it comes to variable name and global variable names, that's when it'll have an issue. So from here, we're going to change the shape to a rectangle. I want the height of the rectangle to be kind of small, but this will make more sense in a little bit. Because our background width is 900, we're going to make our progress bar 800 so it fits within that width. And now we're going to copy the background because we're going to create a progress bar. So we're going to call this element very cleverly called bar. And I do this just for reference, so because sometimes I'm going back and forth and I'll forget what the width is. So having this copied and pasted means that I don't have to remember what the width is that I want it to be. So we want this progress bar to grow as your music is playing, and we need to multiply it by a factor of, or we have to consider that container width is 800. So we'll change this to formula mode, and we want the width of this progress bar to match the length of whatever the current position of the track is. So we'll go into music information, and there's an element called current track position in percentage. So the current track I'm in is 1.03% complete, but that assumes that your container width is only at 100. So because it's at 800, we're going to multiply this times 8. And we'll close it out. So now, regardless of the length of your track, the progress bar will update according to the length of the media that you're playing. Now we have a little bit of housekeeping to do. So we want this position to start on the left side of the background. So we're going to change this from center to center left. But now the other problem is that we have a white background and a white progress bar. So we want this to be a dynamically changing progress bar as well. So we're going to change this to the formula mode, And we're going to use the global variable of vibrant music. So I don't necessarily need this to change when music is playing or not playing, because we already have our background and border doing that. So in this case, what we're going to do is just have it update to the color of the current track and leave it at that. And now for a little bit of an extra flourish that I personally like. So this next one is optional. I'm also going to create a shape of a circle. So we have a progress dot that goes that moves along with our progress bar. So you can adjust the size depending on the size of your elements. So 25 is good enough. I'll change the color much like I did for the progress bar so we can see it. Same thing here. We're going to change the anchor from center to center left, so it starts on the left. Now in this case, because this is just a dot that's moving along the bar rather than a circle that's growing, we want the padding to be changed rather than the width of the circle. So in this case, we're going to adjust the left padding so it goes from left to right. And we're going to use the same formula as before. So go into music info, track position and percentage, and multiply times 8. So this way, this progresses nicely with your music playtime. So we'll do a quick save. So now we have our progress bar. So I save along the way just in case I have to come back and do something else and move along, but or do something else and then come back and finish this. So now that we have our progress bar, the final element that I always want is playback controls, because I want to be able to easily start and stop music when I'm on the go. Let's say sometimes I take out my headphones and I'm not sure if music paused, or I want to skip tracks easily. This way, whatever music or podcast or whatever is playing, I have the controls on my home screen. I don't have to go into my music app, podcast app, Google Play Books, anything like that. It's all controlled from my home screen. So we're going to create one more stack group, and I didn't rename it, so let's rename this playback controls. So for me, as you watch these videos, you'll see that my naming scheme is super simple. I don't go crazy with it because I want something that's obvious that I'm going to remember what it is for later. You can do things like embedded things like, media player / stack group / playback controller or something if you want to know where you're at. But if you're going into a step-by-step, you'll know exactly where you're at. So we want our stacking to be a horizontal center so that all the buttons are next to each other. Margin, I usually have at 60 or 80. So this you can adjust a little bit according to your needs. So from here, we're going to click the plus and go into font icon. And I keep it with the material set just because that works best for the icons I like. But you can always go around, find the ones you want, or look around with the pre-installed ones. Or if you're using an icon pack and they have playback controls that you like, you can pick the image element and select your the icons that way. So whatever works best for you, but there's a couple of different options for this. So I want in this case, I know that the back or previous track button is under previous, so I'll pick that. Size is okay, but I know that 75 is also pretty good. And in this case, we're going to also go over to the touch action, click the plus sign, and we're going to set the touch action to react based on the button. So we have a section for music controls, and it's going to default to play and pause, but we're going to change this to previous. So when we click the back button, it goes to the previous track. And now we're going to copy this icon twice. Spacing is okay. I'll bump it up to 100. We'll check it out when we're done just to make sure it's still good. And then we're going to change the second icon. From here, you have a couple of different options. You can set an overlap group to say when music is playing, have the pause button show, and make the play icon transparent. And when music is not playing, show the pause icon and show the play icon and make the pause button transparent. Because I have the background color changing, I don't need to do that in this case, but you have an option there if you want to keep your colors the same on your home screen and you want your play and pause icons to dynamically change as well. So we'll change the play button back to play pause, and then we'll change the third button to next. And we'll do that. And then we'll change the touch icon to the next action. So from here, we're pretty much done, but you'll see that the border is a little bit too big for our media player, but our separation between elements is okay. So we'll go back to our background and change the height. So I think 400 should be good. So that looks okay. When we get out and look at it on our home screen, I'll take another look at it. The only thing now is we do need to adjust the position of it. So I want it to be in a spot right underneath my weather widget. So I'll reset the offset to the top of the screen so it keeps the same general position. And I guess 800 was too far down, so we'll adjust the vertical. That's too close to the weather widget, so let's move it back down a little bit. And you'll see that my media player widget is smaller than my weather widget, so I'm gonna go into that background, and it looks like my width is 940. So I'm gonna actually update my width on my media player up to 940, and same thing for the border, 940. So this way my media player and weather widget background border are the same. So from here we can also do something as simple as extend the width of our current track's track title. So I'm gonna update, because we updated by about 40, I'm gonna update all of this to 700 just to see how that looks. And that's not terrible, so let's go all the way out and save the changes. And now we have a media player widget. So now when we push the play icon, when it comes to darker cover images, you're gonna see, and I need to turn my music down a little bit so it's not blaring in my ears. When you have darker or mostly black and dark color cover images, you don't get too much of an option here of borders and all that, so you have to adjust for that sometimes, or you can just live with it if you don't have too many like that. But let's change the track icon or the track to a little bit something else. So in this case we have mostly green, so you see purple and green border, offset and all that. The track title is changing. Here's actually a good example of the title that overlaps a little bit more than the width of our container, so you see the 3 dots with it. But you'll see here, and I guess we can move our music up a little bit so you'll see the bar changing colors as well. So yeah, so that's basically it. That we have a fully functioning media player widget, and the easiest way to check to make sure it's working properly is just put your if you have a lot of music that you can play, just put it on random, make sure it's updating properly, and you're all good to go. So that's all there is actually for this tutorial. So this is a music player widget that I like in custom live wallpaper maker. Because I already have my music player and podcast player icons at the bottom, I don't have the selection in my media player widget. But if you only use one, like you only listen to music, you could have a touch action in your cover image, for example, to open your music player or podcast player or something, open the last played music player or something like that. Or you can have icons like do another stack group next to your playback controls to have shortcuts there if you'll want it all in one place to make it kind of like Winamp a little bit. So you have a whole bunch of different options of where you can take things from here. But as far as a basic media player that updates its colors based on your media that's playing, this is something that works for me. I use it regularly, and this is actually what I'm going to keep on my home screen now, because it's something that I like. It works. I have my controls on my home screen, and it generally just works. And I'm gonna rewind the podcast that I'm listening to, and you can see something a little bit different there, as far as colors that are a little bit different than what you saw in the music that was playing. So overall, that's the also, and as far as the whole tutorial for beginners goes, that is the bulk of everything that I do and how I do things in Custom Live Wallpaper Maker. When I'm creating all these different elements and groups, I create stack elements and stack widgets and groups and overlap groups and embed things within each other based on where I want the position to be, what I want them to do, global variables for colors and image and things like that, even for fonts if I know I'm gonna use certain fonts. So that way everything is there. It's easy to pick, it's easy to find later. I highly recommend renaming things and renaming elements based on what group they're in and what kind of things you're creating, so they're easy to find later. And if you know you're going to use one element in multiple places for different things, make a global variable out of it. That will save you so much time later when you need to call that image, and if you need to ever change things and change elements on the fly and dynamically, it'll make it so much easier down the road when you have a fully created home screen and then you didn't do a global variable, and now you have to go change every little thing, versus having a global variable that you just have to change that one thing and everything else dynamically changes. So that's all there is for this particular tutorial and the last one in this series. So thanks for tuning in, listening. If you have any questions, feedback, anything you want me to show you, try on something you're trying to do that you want me to see if I can do, definitely leave a comment on this video or any of the other related videos if you think it's related to one of those items, and I'll see what I can do. I'll try and create it to see if it helps you out in a home screen that you are trying to create. But that's all there is for this particular tutorial. Thanks for tuning in, and until next time. Or actually, and sorry, I can't even say until next time because this is the last one. So all of these videos are actually up on the YouTube channel, which I should have said earlier that they're all up on the YouTube channel at youtube.com/PatelN01. So I appreciate your subscription, following along. All the gameplay videos, podcasts, everything can be found on the YouTube channel that I just mentioned. And I'll have a link about now that you can click on. I appreciate your subscription, following along, liking my content that you like, and all of that good stuff. But thanks for tuning in, and I look forward to seeing you on the YouTube.